Well, there's obviously been a lot of blame getting tossed around here. Kyle Shanahan is getting a good percentage of it just simply because he is the head coach. And obviously, the key stat is that Kyle Shanahan has been outscored 46 to nothing in the fourth quarter in the two Super Bowls he's been in as an offensive coordinator and now as a head coach. Obviously, he was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons when they blew a 28 to 3 lead. Now he's blown a 10-point lead to the Chiefs as a head coach. And there's been some talk about how much blame does he really deserve? Was he the reason they lost? In my opinion, no. I don't think he deserves that much blame. That's just my opinion. I think that he's getting too much heat. He definitely had some mistakes. He definitely did have some mistakes, but I think there's some things that are getting blown out of proportion. One of those things is the fact that he didn't run the ball late in the game. In my opinion, I don't really think that that's totally fair. For one thing, actually, the only first down that they had in the last two drives that they were trying to just kill the clock and not really get points, the only first down they had was off of play action, a throw to George Kittle. But I mean, really, actually, just looking at the two plays, both of these plays totally could have worked. Like this first one, it's going to be play action, and then they're going to try to hit Deebo Samuel right over there. And one interesting wrinkle on this play is that what's going to happen is that San Francisco's center and right guard will both be blocking those two interior linemen. But Kansas City, getting a little creative here, is going to send a player on a blitz just in between them. And so, since Garoppolo's back will be turned to sell to play action, he's actually going to then basically just get hit right as he's thrown. But that being said, because of that, this now means that Samuel is going to be open because of this play call. The question is just going to be, can Garoppolo hit him while getting hit by a Kansas City player? And that answer is going to be no. He actually misses this throw just a little bit too high, but he missed it high. If he makes that throw, it's a first down. They can kill a couple more minutes, maybe even get in field goal range. They were so close right there. Garoppolo just misses the throw. And again, that's kind of just the craziness about football is he makes that one throw, maybe they win, and everyone credits Kyle Shanahan for his bold play calling late in the game. Like even on the other play, because keep in mind, he only did it twice. He only passed on a down, not third down, twice. He did it 2 times. It just so happened that they both didn't work out, so he didn't get many more opportunities to do that or not do it. But what's going to happen is that it's a cover 2 man, and that's going to be the route that Garoppolo wants to hit here, which it's actually going to work out really well because Kittle's assigned man is playing very far off, so Kittle is going to get open here. Kansas City was very much expecting this to be a rushing play, so there's actually going to be an edge rusher who's now, he was in charge of covering Samuel essentially, now he's trying to get in Kittle's way. But Kittle is wide open, so Garoppolo is going to hit him here. However, Jones just leaps up and bats it away, and that's just a great play by Jones. Jones actually had another one of those on the final drive of the game. Jones, his biggest impact was honestly in him batting balls away, because again, if that doesn't happen, they get the first down there and can at least kill some time, if nothing else, but potentially get a long drive and just ice the game right there. I understand why some people are putting some blame on Shanahan, especially because, listen, he did the same thing in Super Bowl 51 and that didn't work out. But just in my opinion, I just don't know if the running game is going to work out exactly the way people think it is. I mean, in the 3 rushes that happened, there was a 6-yard rush, a 1-yard rush, and a 5-yard rush. So, obviously, that's pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, he felt confident that the play-action game could work, and he also felt like, Mahomes was going to get multiple opportunities either way, so he had to try to put points on the board. Which, I mean, I do understand, it's a tough situation, but at the same time, I mean, it kind of just worked out in the worst possible way. I don't want to be results-oriented and say it didn't work out, so therefore it was the wrong decision. That's just my opinion. Now, the one thing I will absolutely say is that Kyle Shanahan totally screwed up the end of the first half. I mean, that is unquestionably not what you're supposed to do. You can have 2 minutes left to try to get a drive going. It's just a mistake. There's no getting around it. It was just a mistake from Shanahan straight up. Now, that being said, I thought that outside of that decision, I think that the first 3 quarters, he actually coached a fantastic game. I mean, at this point, Kyle Shanahan is basically the GOAT of the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl in terms of play calling. I mean, he can definitely get that part. If only definitely he's made some questionable decisions in the 4th quarter. I think way more so in Super Bowl 51 than in this game. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I think it's worth mentioning if I'm going to make a video talking about Kyle Shanahan's play calling to bring up some of the good play calls from the first 3 quarters. And so I'll get into some of those. So like on this play, what's going to happen is that the 49ers are going to first basically run play action, but instead of having Jimmy Garoppolo just keep the ball and throw it, he's going to then pitch it back to Deebo Samuel, who's going to be running around like that. He's then going to run up to the top half of the screen, try to pick up some yards. A little bit of a clever misdirection here, but what I really like about it is take a look at what happens right when the ball is snapped. You're going to see the offensive line just allow themselves to get beat to the bottom half of the screen, which is really smart. You know, they don't just immediately pull up to the top half of the screen. That would give something away. Instead, they allow themselves to get beat to the bottom half of the screen, so that way they can have an offensive lineman, as you see on the screen. He can move up to lead block. Also, there's a clear hole for Samuel to run through, so just being smart right here. You know, before this game, I was saying one thing the Chiefs could try to do is watch the offensive line, see what they're doing, because when the offensive line moves in a certain direction, you know that that's where the run is going to. It can kind of give you a little tell that way. But because this offensive line did a good job of helping sell the fake, now Deebo Samuel is able to run up to the top half of the screen. But also watch this. So you have an offensive lineman, but he's now trying to run downfield, trying to make an open field block. This is definitely not in his element. It's hard to have the footwork to pull this off. But watch how he's able to dive over, just getting that defensive back's way enough that Samuel is able to pick up a huge gain. But what I found even more interesting about that play was just a setup play, because then what they were going to do later on in the game is this play, where it's going to start off very similar. They're going to have, you know, same concept. Looks like it's going to be a handoff, but then Deebo Samuel runs around. However, this time Deebo Samuel is not going to run the ball. He's going to look to pass the ball, and they have a receiver running that route right there. Basically, the hope is Kansas City says, oh, okay, I know what's coming here. We got to make sure we run to the right side of the screen, run in, make sure we stop Deebo Samuel, but then Samuel is able to throw it over them, and they're able to get the first down. Really a clever play call, just sort of fun by Kyle Shanahan to, in the biggest game of the year, be dialing up plays like this. It's so crazy that guys do it now, but it honestly works, so it makes a ton of sense. But anyways, even though these things do tend to work, on this play, it's not working out at all, actually. You look at the player that Deebo Samuel wants to try to hit right here. Kansas City did an amazing job of staying back. I don't really know how they did this, but just it's almost like they were expecting a passing play. Just a great job by them to not get fooled. But there is one problem, and their defensive players who are further deep did not get fooled. Those two Kansas City players are still trying to get to the right side of the screen. They're still trying to get over, so that way they can potentially make a play on Deebo Samuel. That's what they're doing here. But since this is basically a passing play, so the offensive line is pass blocking here, this now means that the middle of the field is going to be just completely wide open right here. Deebo Samuel is aware enough to realize this, and he's going to run forward. They pick up the first down. Just great awareness by Deebo Samuel more than anything. I mean, you know, a lot of quarterbacks sometimes don't pick that kind of thing up. So to see a guy who isn't even a quarterback by natural position being able to do something like that, it's truly remarkable and a great job by him. This play was also a fun one, and again, what's going to happen is that Deebo Samuel is going to be a guy who is a huge part of this play. The way it's going to work is that those that are main blocks you're going to want to take a look at. I know there's a bit going on there, but basically it's all one-on-one matchups with the exception of their right guard and right tackle will be double-teaming a lineman, but then one of them will move up to block a linebacker. But again, what's interesting about a play like this is that it's not just going to be a traditional handoff. It's actually going to be, they're going to have their halfback basically become a fullback on this play and lead block, and Deebo Samuel will actually get the ball and he will just follow the halfback. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons it's interesting is just because the Kansas City Chiefs defense isn't going to be expecting a run in that direction. Because San Francisco's halfback is on that side of the field, so typically he would run across the field to get to the top half of the screen. But since it's going to be a pitch to Samuel, and there's now going to be an extra blocker, this is definitely a good play for the San Francisco 49ers. But even more so because of watch how well it's blocked. I mean, first things first, you'll notice that there's just a huge hole for Samuel to try to run through. So again, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this comes down to, is just being able to block. But then also what happened is that if you look right over there, so an offensive lineman, he got off his double team, he's moving up to try to block a linebacker, but what's going to happen is that actually their halfback is going to decide he's going to block the linebacker instead, which is very interesting because, for one thing, this can actually turn into a very bad thing. If he goes up to block the linebacker and then the offensive lineman says, okay, I'll block somebody else, but then you don't block the linebacker too well, it could result in you not gaining many yards. But not only is Monster able to make this block, he makes the block really well and easily allows Samuel to run over. He picks up over 15 yards on that play. And again, Samuel was great. Samuel did a great job on that play, but it was really more about the play itself, the blocking, and just the call itself that made that play work so well. So, I mean, yeah, he absolutely had some good play calls. He absolutely made some mistakes. I think that, honestly, just my opinion is sometimes you get beat, and I think Shanahan got beat. I think his team got beat. I think that Garoppolo, down to stretch late in the fourth quarter, just didn't execute on some of those throws. I think that was the difference, just in my opinion. That's what happened. Is you can sit here and blame Shanahan all you want, but at the end of the day, if one or two of those incompletions were complete, now we're all talking about Kyle Shanahan doing a great job of calling the game. What a genius. I mean, I just think we're being a bit results-oriented, and we're also bringing his past failures into this game. I thought he coached a fine game. I just think that the Chiefs were the better team, and the better team won. That's just my opinion. But anyways, I understand if you feel differently, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.